All right, so this topic definitely deserved its own video. A lot of you want to know more about these 3-spring clutches, what goes into building one, and the benefits of running one. So main advantage to the setup, obviously, is you're going to have more spring power because it's coming from the outside and it's pushing in, whereas this one is behind the clutch plate and is getting squeezed, so obviously it's not going to be as efficient as these ones here. What you have to keep in mind, though, is you're going to have to tap holes, okay? So these 3 bolts in here, there's usually, see if I can get one here. I'll just dump this out. Okay, so these little pins, they go in your clutch basket and they're press fit. What I use is a propane torch, okay, a little punch set, and I knock these out. What I do after that is get a 7/16 size bolt, so I think that's like 1/4 inch, and like basically 7/16 is the head size, okay? And basically you want to put threads in it so that you can turn these in, and you'll put your spring behind those bolts. I like to use little 1/4 inch flat washers. It just really helps it stay on better, okay? So pull the cover off. I'm gonna remove these here because basically you have to make sure that this is the center shaft is connected with the plate. Something I like to do on my engines now is I'll remove 5 clutch pads and it'll kind of look like a star pattern. The reason I do so is because there's going to be the equal amount of force on a smaller surface, which means it's going to grab more. If you have more onto it, there's more of a chance that the plate could slip. Also, go ahead and shave your clutch pads down on the sides. Shout out to James, I can never say his last name, James Pacone. He basically made it so that you have wiggle room in the clutch pad itself, and it really allows the clutch system to work properly, because you got to think about it. There's a plate behind the pads as well, and if those don't have any give, it's just going to slip. So basically this setup here, you can see I have a flat washer under the plate. I'm going to go ahead and remove this here so I can show you what's going on. Basically you have a washer here, washer on the underside, and there's one in the middle that's pretty interesting. See if I can get this off. I use a lock nut so that it doesn't vibrate. Okay, so remove this here. So see what I did there? I used a little flat washer. You can find this probably in your engine hardware. If you go back and look in your stock kit, you could probably come across a washer around this size. And I had to shave it down. What you can do is you can either shave the plate or you can shave the washer down itself. I recommend the washer. That way, for if some odd reason you have to go back to the stock setup, you won't have to worry about the plate being damaged. Something to watch out for here is, you'll notice this flat washer is pretty thick. The problem with the setup is I've had in the past, I had to grind this I had to grind this nut down, because when this goes in here, I was having issues. Now it's grabbing fine, but basically that wouldn't stay, okay? It kept slipping because this was grinding against there. So what I've done is just shave that down a little bit. You won't have to do this normally. I think what happened was I had this motor to the cases, like it was all torn apart, and I got believe it or not, the nut on that side is a little bit thicker, and I think I had it on this side, hence why it was rubbing. So make sure you have that correct, but usually you won't have to shave it, but it's something worth noting. All right, so I got the crank seal for this engine. I almost dropped it there. Got a magneto, just a spare one, so I thought I'd put it in on the video. Something to do. So get that off. I painted this motor with like some rust coat, and I found that the threads, I should have really taped them, because they're very difficult to thread bolts into. It is what it is. In case you guys are wondering, I can make my own stickers now. These are just little printable vinyl. You can get them on Amazon. It's Steel TS400, and you can make them for an MS440. The logos are on there. Also, the red paint is just VHT, high heat caliper paint. I've installed a crank seal in the past. You want to grease it. I recommend it. And if you're getting one for the YD100, it takes 2 of the bigger ones, whereas these PK80s have a thinner seal, and I don't have the thick one obviously because I put it in my Minarelli, but there's a thin and a thick shim seal, so you want to get that if you have the PK80. I gotta remove the magnet, so let's do that. Alright, so I put this on with the impact, so it's probably not going to come off the easiest, but we'll try. So bear with me, it's not going to be on camera for a sec. I'll have to go get the impact most likely. Yep, that ain't coming off. Ugh. Okay, so we're going to get an impact gun. See if we can get it removed. There it goes. It's definitely being stubborn, I will say that. I think the threads are not the greatest on this one here. Problem with the magnet, like, wants to stick to the tool. There we go. Oh, I used Loctite by the looks of it. Anyways. Oh, I remember that. That magnet's really on there. So to get one of these stubborn magnets off, I just used a little flathead screwdriver with like a hammer. Basically angled it so it was like a case and popped it up. So we're good there. Here's my crank seal. I'll get you guys a better angle of installing the seal. So I'm not going to say what's right or wrong here, but this engine's about 13 or 14 years old. You can tell because it has a short stroke in it with the wide weights. But anyways, it has the seal installed. You know, they didn't remove it, or I guess you would call it the shield of the bearing. So take it for what it's worth. Okay, so I got my seal all ready to go. I cleaned the surface out and I used a bit of MotoSeal. This acts as a lubricant, but it also seals it very well. So just gonna stick it on, center it up, and I like to use a little socket and push it into place. All right, so I'm just gonna push it down with the socket, and you wanna make sure that you look at it from this angle, that's perfectly flat. So what I like to do on most engines is give the magnet a quick little tap. What this is going to do is reassure that it's going to be seated all the way down. Then I'll get my washer, toss it on. And also when you're installing this, so you don't install it backwards, when the keyway is vertical like this, it should be at the 1 o'clock position. If it's wrong, it'll be like down here. So keep that in mind, it'll be at like the 3 o'clock, which means it'll have spark, but it will not run. Very important. I'm gonna nut, thread it on, and give it a tighten. So for the OG viewers, this is my second motorized bike build, and I put a Maxxis hookworm, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, these are just standard mountain bike rims. It clears everything. Now that I'm making more money on YouTube, I can get one for the front to match, and maybe a cool exhaust. So for the magneto install, all you want to do is position the magnet like this, and I'm going to get my feeler gauges and adjust the gap. Obviously I have to go ahead and pick up some bolts for this thing, but she's pretty close to being all put together. But yeah, coming along pretty good. So that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. A little bit of a explanation on how these 3-spring clutches are. Like I said, the spring kit, 15 bucks, link in the description, and you guys saw how everything works. I believe I'll make sure I throw a picture of that clutch shaft wrapping the heat shrink around it, but it's a cheap upgrade that once you get it set up correctly, it works really good. Like I said on my Minarelli, when it hits the power band, it just goes. It don't slip at all. A little bit of work done to the saw, like I said, but hopefully we can get some more parts for this. I want to get a parts engine to build this up as one unit. Maybe I'll sell it, maybe I'll keep it. We'll see what we do with it. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.